Hi, everyone. We're going to give people a moment to join us. So if you could just hang tight. We still have some people joining us. So just give them another minute or two. Okay, well, I'm Shelley Harris, and James Harris is here as well, and we're the founders of RaceJoy, and we're happy to be with you this evening to give you an overview of how to use RaceJoy for relay team tracking, and specifically for the Gap Trail Relay. So let's go into the details. And by the way, if you have any questions, feel free to type those in the chat area, and we're happy to answer your questions along the way. So RaceJoy, it offers GPS tracking, and there's two ways that you can be tracked. One is where you use your phone as a tracking device, and this is where people can track your blue dot move along the course on race day, so they know your actual location, and this helps you with coordinating your team efforts on race day. The second way is where you can receive continual performance updates for yourself and for your team members as you cross mile markers and exchange points on the course. So we're going to cover how to do those things. So first, to use RaceJoy, you'll need to download the app, and it's available in for Apple and Android devices. Then you'll search for the Gap Relay in the main search field at the top part of the screen or under featured races. And then you'll simply click on the race on the Gap Relay race. And then after you click this, the race will go into your My Races folder that's shown on the lower right part of the screen. So you can access it quickly in the future. So to set up your team, and first you'll need to set up yourself. Each team member will use their own phone and set up their profile. And they'll be presented with a screen saying where there'll be an option for I want to be tracked or I want to track someone. And each team member will need to click I want to be tracked. Then you select the relay course option that will be shown on the screen, and then you'll sign up with your team, and then you'll follow the remaining prompts. So RaceJoy is super easy to use. It will self-guide you through things, and it will give you instructions on what you need to do on race day. But we're here today just to kind of go through things and make sure, if you have any questions, and also because there's an added complexity with the relay teams, tying phones together, we just wanted to make sure that things get set up properly.
So let's take a moment and actually look at it live and actually setting up a race for Gap. So you can follow along here in the webinar. Again, the recording will be available for you and your teammates afterwards. And then you can make sure that your phones are getting all set up. We're going to do two things tonight. One is we're going to actually show you setting up the race, and we'll talk through what the different setup options are so that you clearly understand the different options you have available for tailoring your own personal experience as you run through the relay. And the second thing we're going to do is actually make the event go live tonight. We're actually going to see it live, and we'll turn on the event so that you can see what it's going to look like on race day and get a good preview of the performance area and the leg management area that you will see on race day. So as Shelly said, you just need to find the event, get RaceJoy on either an Apple or Android phone. You can also use it on tablets in the van if you have a tablet and you want to follow along on a bigger screen. You can do that. So you can either just quick search, use like the Gap, or you can find it also under featured races. And then under featured races, you would look under Maryland and you would find it. And once this is added to your race list, you'll see this little heart symbol next to it. That means that it will always be available to you at any time by just going back, clicking on My Races as I've done there, and you can find your race in your profile. So we're going to go ahead and set up a profile tonight on the Gap. And the very first screen you're going to see is going to look like this, and it's going to basically ask who you are and what, are you a participant or you're a spectator? So tonight I'm going to be setting up as a participant, and I'm going to set up here as someone new, and that's good. And you'll get presented with a screen here that looks like this. Let me go back, sorry. Basically, you just need to choose which course option. We have a lot of events where there's a lot of different options, even for the long relays. And so there might be a couple different options, but for the Gap, there's only one course option. That's the 150-mile relay. So you're going to go ahead and select that. And at this point, you can either enter a bib identifier or not. And again, remember what we're doing with RaceJoy is we're turning the phone into a tracking device. And so it's not tracking your bid tag, it's actually tracking your phone, and all the performance and all the progress alerts and everything are going to be based on that phone crossing different milestones along the course. So the bib is completely optional. A lot of people like to enter the bib because it's a nice extra identifier that makes it easier for friends and family to look you up, or even your team. If you have a common number for your team, they can just look up everybody with that number. So again, if you have the number, go ahead and enter it. If you don't, we'll show you in a minute how you can get back to your profile to adjust this. The next step in the profile setup is to select your team. Again, if somebody has already been setting up the team for you, if somebody on your team, whoever the first person in is probably set up your team for you. But let's say I was looking for a team like Smelly Cats. Well, I'm just starting to type here and I see that I don't have a team named Smelly Cats. So I would be able to go ahead and enter in and add in a team called Smelly Cats. And that would be the first person. If somebody has already added your team, then as you see here, as I start looking for a team like Team Joy, I would find my team. And so you just add yourself to an existing team. And just confirm that this is me. At this point, it's asking you to confirm that this is the phone. This is the actual phone that you plan on carrying during the race. The reason why we have this screen is, again, if you set up a profile on an iPad, on the van, you can do that. You would not choose that option here. You're going to only choose this option on the actual phone that's going to be tracked on during the race. So we're going to take a moment on this screen. These are some pretty important settings that really help fine-tune your experience, especially in terms of audio and what you're going to experience in terms of the sounds that the app's going to make. You can do that from here. These settings are also available through the app. If you haven't done it during the profile setup, you can get back to these screens and these setup screens in the app, and we'll show you that in a second. So let's look at audio settings to start with. We give you the ability to fine-grain your control of what sounds you hear and what you want for your own experience, and I'll kind of walk through these from top to bottom. The first one is for what's called the team progress alerts. These are the alerts that are sent out every 5 miles and at every exchange as an active leg runner hits that milestone. And so this is what this is controlling. It's just a wahoo sound. It's kind of like a short notification sound, and then you get a notification, in-app notification coming in saying that your team, by your team name, has reached a certain exchange and or a certain milestone in terms of those every 5 mile milestones. So if you don't want to hear the wahoos, you can turn that off. Probably not a big deal, not much sound coming from that. The next one is your personal audio, and this is your audio split. If you use a training app, you're very familiar with getting your every mile split alerts, and RaceJoy is going to issue you audio as you run your active leg, and it will only be when you're active on your leg, and it'll be every mile. It'll be giving you your leg split time for that last mile, your leg average time, which is different than a team average pace, and the estimated time to finish your leg, the estimated time for you to get to your exchange point. This is all spoken to you in an audio format using the voice of your phone, depending upon how you set up your general voice settings on your phone. If you use a training app and you don't want to hear our audio split alerts, then this is a setting that you could disable on our side and then just use your training app if you only want to hear the small split alerts from your training app. Our split alerts are different than a training app because we're measured based relative to the course, and we're giving you an estimated time to hit an exchange. And so it's a little bit different than you would get from just a straight mile-by-mile training app. You can also control whether or not you hear the cheers. So you can play around with cheers, and we'll show this in a minute. Get text to cheers, a lot of custom messages, a lot of fun. But if you don't want to hear those cheers, you can also control that audio setting and just kind of focus in on your split alerts and then look at your cheers later under the buzz bucket and review them at that point. Race news are going to be coming from the race director, and these will just be alerts. There might be something going on in the course. We've had a lot of interesting stories with the long relays and over the night races. Very interesting things can happen overnight. So you might want to keep this one on. We recommend this on. Again, it's just a woohoo sound, and it'll come with the race news alert letting you know that something's going on. The final sound setting is near me alerts, and near me alerts are a cowbell sound when somebody on your team is entered into proximity to your location. This will only be if that person is an active runner. So you won't get near me alerts if you're all driving in a van, you're all together, and you're going together. These cowbell sounds won't be heard. It'll only be if you have an active leg runner and then they're coming close to you within 100 meters, you'll get the sound. So it's a nice way to kind of get a heads up your runner's coming and it's close by. The other thing you might want to do during your profile setup is go ahead and get everybody on your team on the list. We recommend that everybody on your team is added to your list, and you just come in here and just add them all into your list and get them all set up. And in a minute, when we look at leg management, you'll see how nice that is. Okay?
And you'll need to put your entire team on your list to get the team progress updates.
Right. The next step is important. We're not in control of your phones. With Apple and Android, there's a lot of things that you can do to turn off and disable settings, depending upon what kind of privacy you want and so forth. And this step will be validating that your phone is working with GPS and working with our app. So I definitely want to do this step. And if you see any kind of error, fix me screens, we call them the fix me screens, and it'll come up, say, fix this, we got something going on here. Then you want to address that, and we'll look at that in a second. But normally you should just see yourself and your current location. If you got to this screen with no warnings and you see yourself on the phone, then on race day, everybody will be able to track you, and the app is functioning with GPS. And as the screen says, the main thing you got to do is very simple. The app is very self-explanatory. The only real responsibility you have on race day is to have a good time, run, and just come into RaceJoy, have RaceJoy running on your phone, and select the leg that you're going to do, and that's pretty much it. There's an announce screen. If you want to invite friends and family, you can do it right from here, and a variety of ways that you can invite and then send invitations to them. This is also available to you in the app under the social circle. And we have some tips and training tips and tracking tips, in here that you kind of scroll through if you want to go back through your profile and read through those. Again, we send out an email, so if you've set up your profile already, you already got instructional email that helps kind of explain the app also. And on the main page of RaceJoy, there's a video tutorial if you want more information. So for relay, there's one other thing in terms of setting up your profile. You're doing a long relay. This relay has 24 legs. You want to be able to come in here, and this is what you see. It's blinking at you right now. And do this ahead of the event. It takes a lot of the stress out of race day. If you, ahead of the event, you come in, you go into the phone track area, and you do your team setup. Just go ahead and pre-set up, the legs that you're going to do. And so I can come down here, and I can say I'm going to do this leg, and I'm going to do this leg. And again, all this can change on race day. If somebody gets hurt, I'm going to show in a minute how you can switch this out at any time on race day. But it's a good idea to get this set up ahead of time and get your team. It's also a nice at-a-glance view. You can see who on your team has set up their profile. If you're a team captain, you can see that everybody's set up, and you want to kind of see this all filled out and ready to go before you get to Friday.
Okay, so as James mentioned, the big notice here is to make sure to come back into the app on race day and activate RaceJoy's tracking. This gets turned on 30 minutes prior to the start of the event. And you'll see a green blinking button so that the app will guide you to that button. You'll see it looks like this. So you just click that and that activates your tracking. So you can just leave it there and say, I'm just gonna have my blue dot tracked and that's it. Or you can do, as we've been talking about, is, you know, having your leg also tracked and getting those performance updates. And with that, we'll get into, okay, what's the next step with that? And you just, all you have to do is click start my leg when you start your leg. So the other important information that James mentioned is that if you see one of these click fix me screens, please make sure to adjust your phone setting. We're unable to adjust these for you. And if they're not set up correctly, RaceJoy will not function properly. If you want to hear your progress alert updates or cheers that people send to you, make sure your sound toggle is on and that your volume is turned up for notifications. This is key for both Android and Apple devices. If you can test your sound settings by sending a cheer to yourself. And in addition, you can please check to make sure that your do not disturb setting is turned off.
So got the phone all set up. You've got your legs set up. You can see all the legs that are set up for your team. Now let's fast forward and take a look at the event and see how it's going to look on race day for you when you come in on race morning. So we're going to make the event live here.
So if you have the app downloaded, you'll see that it goes. And if you're in the event, you'll see that it's going. It'll go live temporarily.
So if I come out, again, on race day, the only thing you need to do is come in, select your My Race list, and grab your event and go in. Now, for the gap relay, we have been told by the race organizers there's a couple sections that are a little sketchy for some of the cell providers. And so, you know, one particular area is the Smithtown area, maybe Exchange 15, we've heard, might be a little iffy. So again, what we recommend on race day is just leave RaceJoy running on your phone, keep it active on your phone, and keep yourself in the event. Even when you're off charging and getting all that, if you're in the event, then all the data is cached. And no matter what, if you have no cell service at a given exchange, you're still going to be able to get to the screen. You're still going to be able to activate and start your leg.
You don't need to keep the app open on your screen. You just need to make sure that you're not closing down the app.
It just needs to be running. So this is an example of Willow's about the set up, and she's set up to do leg 8 in this particular example. What I'm going to do is imagine that we got to race morning on Friday, and Willow is not is going to have to start the RaceJoy is not feeling too good in the morning, didn't make it in time. And so I'm going to actually override, and this is what I was showing you, is that you can get to this performance map screen at any time by either just coming into the app, selecting on the Track Me circle, and it'll take you right to that screen. And I'll talk about that Fix Me screen in a second. You also can get to it from any time from your navigation bar by just clicking on the track icon or the track from the main navigation bar. Now, I'm on an Apple simulator right now, and I'm on Wi-Fi because I'm using a computer, and so I'm constantly getting this Fix Me. You on your phone, you're outside, you're being tracked using satellite tracking. You don't want to be having Wi-Fi on, so you would want to go and adjust those settings under your Apple settings. So now we're all ready to go. Again, you can get to this screen at any time by clicking on track. You can get to the leg management area at any time by clicking on the legs and getting on there, and you can kind of see what we've got set up. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to override and take on leg 1 today, and I'm going to start my team.
Leg 1 started for Team Joy.
That's all you have to do for each one of your legs is just get onto the screen. You'll have a big green button that says start whatever your next leg is. Hit that green button and go.
But wait to click the green button until you actually start your leg.
Right.
So you don't want to start it in advance. You want to wait till you're actually starting.
And the way the technology works is we're going to be measuring and moving this particular phone through the course. And so if this was this leg, when that phone gets into proximity to the end of the leg, the tracking will automatically stop for you. You don't need to hit stop on any screen. And then you'll be able to look at the stats on this progress area. So again, if you ever want to get back kind of the team stat area, just click on this and you'll see a running stat. So we see this leg is active. These numbers will start filling in. Once they hit the first milestone, the first mile of that leg, you'll start seeing leg pace here for Willow, and also the elapsed time for Willow as Willow hits each one of those legs. The stats at the top are the overall team stats. This is overall for your team across all the legs, what's your team pace, and also for the 150 miles, what is the estimated time to finish the overall 150 miles? So it's a number that's constantly updating, and you can kind of watch that happen. So again, pretty much all you have to do is just make sure you have your leg selected, hit the start leg button, run your leg. It will automatically finish it off for you, and then your progress data will be there available on your phone when you're done. The last thing to kind of cover is that, sometimes things happen on race day. Someone forgets to run with the phone, or they don't want to use the phone. You might have a team where you might have somebody on the team that says, I don't use phones, I don't want to use that. So you as a team have the capability of manually setting an override arrival time. So if I came into leg 8 and Willow didn't run it, I could come in when she arrives at the end of leg 8 and actually put in an arrival time. That will cause the team stats to be updated automatically, so everybody will get an alert. They'll all know that the team's at leg 8, and your friends and family will know that, and it'll work just as if that phone had actually gotten to that point. So it's a manual check-in versus it being a phone moving into that position.
Okay, so now we're going to just cover some questions that that are frequently asked. If you have questions also, if you want to type them in, we can address those as well. The first question that we tend to get is, does the whole team have to use RaceJoy? And the answer is no. The entire team doesn't need to use RaceJoy to take advantage of its features. The progress updates will only be available for those that choose to use the leg performance tracking. If the first team member does not use RaceJoy, gun time will be used for the team start time. So if you want the time to be a little bit more accurate, then you want to make sure that your first person clicks that start my leg.
And obviously for an event like the Gap, with the start time starting at 6 in the morning, going all the way to 2, it's really important to get that start time. If you don't have a first leg runner start, you can go to that manual tab that we showed, and you can manually put in a team start and override if you don't get a first team person to run. But we really recommend that you use the technology. It's very simple. Just hit that start leg button and let all the software and the times be updated automatically for you.
So if you're doing more than one leg, select the next leg you are doing, and then so you want to select all the legs that you're doing, and then click the start my leg as you start each leg. So you can set it up in advance, like James was saying. You can adjust it. But you can for each. So if you're doing subsequent legs, each leg that you're doing, you'll need to click that start my leg button. So if you don't click the start my leg button, the positional GPS tracking will work as long as you turn on your tracking the day of the race. However, you will not have the progress updates that we talked about. And if you accidentally if you click the start my leg button too early, don't worry about it. There is a reset button. You just click that to reset things, and then you wait to click the start my leg button until you actually begin your leg. And then, so say you signed up as the wrong person, or you need to simply adjust your profile in some way, or you signed up with the wrong team, then you would just click on the name at the top of the screen and adjust your profile and just follow the prompts. If you happen to see the word guest at the top of the screen, then you're signed in as a spectator, and you'll need to get this adjusted, and just click on guest and then adjust your profile. So how long will your phone battery last using RaceJoy? Our testing has shown that newer phones can use RaceJoy's tracking for 8 to 16 hours. Just make sure to turn off apps that you're not using, especially weather apps, so you'd be surprised how much they drain your battery. Also, the activity that drains your phone battery the fastest is actually looking at the phone screen. So just make sure you have a battery plan, and if you have a team van, then that makes it a little bit easier. So if you're going to be following your team members and stuff, you just want to make sure you'll be able to charge up your phone. Also, poor cell conditions will drain your battery faster as it reattempts to make connections with the cell provider. So if you've used RaceJoy in the past, we used to have it that the whole team would have to click Start My Race when the first person started, but obviously we improved things and you don't have to do that anymore. Yes, you can use other tracking apps and music with RaceJoy. We work well with others. Just know, if you have a tracking app that generally drains your battery, obviously RaceJoy is not going to improve that. If you have some type of app that you're using that tends to drain your battery, it will drain it on race day. So if you run through an area without cell service, that doesn't have working cell service, then you would just continue, as a runner will continue to receive the progress updates for yourself, but you will not be able to issue out this information or your location to others that are tracking you until you reach a functioning cell area. RaceJoy will store up your progress updates, and then it will issue those out to those that are tracking you once you reach that functioning cell area. And just to mention, technology obviously is not perfect. We're tying in a lot of different types of technologies, and including things that are outside of our control, like, cell phone carriers and models of phones and everything. So just make sure to follow the prompts and read the screens, and if there are any of the fix me type of screens, then please adjust those. It definitely adds a layer of complexity when you have a relay team, because again, we're tying all these phones together, not just with the RaceJoy itself. So and everything should work just fine, just as long as you follow the prompts.
So just to kind of finish up here real quickly, just to show you again in the app. Go back out here, and you'll be accessing the gap through the My Race list after you set it up. If you need to adjust your audio settings, you'll find that underneath the progress alert circle, and you can just adjust those settings there. If you want to invite others, you can do this social area. You want to set up your team, just to recap here, under the team setup, and get your team and get this all filled out and all ready to go before Friday. And then on Friday, it's pretty much just start my leg, and then all the software will happen. All the progress alerts will be updated. You'll be able to come in here and just see this, refreshing and getting all that good team stats and all that good information being shared out for those that are following you.
Okay, so it looks like we don't have any questions. If you do have questions, don't hesitate to contact us, and we'll be sending out a recording of this webinar to all of the attendees. And if you want to share that with your team members, that would be great. And we also have a handout of a relay instructions for those people that like to read, so you can feel free to share that with others as well. So we hope you guys enjoy this, the first year, the Gap Trail Relay. We're super happy to be a part of this event. And thanks for joining us tonight.